Well, here we are again, another day in the shop. It looks like today I'm taking a snow day. We got probably 4 inches overnight of snow, and the roads are going to be terrible, so I don't feel the need to be out there driving. So I usually take a day off when it's like this. I'm self-employed, and give the plows a time to catch up. So I had a friend, Norm, suggest using acetone in the tank to get rid of the old gasoline residue. And since I'm snowed in and I happen to have some, I'm going to give that a try. Okay, I put it in there and I swished it on really good. Let it sit outside here and soak for a bit because that is some smelly stuff.
Shop Fuzzy Maggie. Hello, Maggie.
As you remember before, this is the grimy 413, so I'm not sure how far I'm going to disassemble it, so it's not as easy as just going down to the car wash and spraying it. So I'm going to probably scrape as what I can and spray and scrape and try and do it that way. It's kind of the slow and tedious way, but it's the middle of winter and it's just the way it is. Looky, looky, who's toiling away here on the steering box. She's finishing that up. It actually wasn't that bad, and I've moved on to the engine. So a friend pointed out, I didn't notice when I showed the bearings a few videos ago on the teardown, that the bearing is labeled upper, which means this one was in the cap when upper would be this one. So they've got the bearings reversed. I'm not sure how much difference that's going to make. I guess there's an oiling hole there. I'll look into it. I don't know if I should disturb them and switch them from the rod to the cap, if that'll change their, their installed contour at all or not, but they are in good shape. So the piston's out, definitely showing wear, but that don't matter to us because we're putting them back in regardless. So we're going to clean up the piston a little bit, and then I might run a quick hone through the bore, and then we're going to pop out these frost plugs, put new brass ones in, and then we're going to slap it all back together with new gaskets and send it.
So while Dean is working on the motor over there, I'm going to tackle the inside the best that I can. This car was originally a really pretty blue color, and as you can see, it's really yuck right now with the black. I think, I'm not for certain, but I think obviously these wood panels aren't factory, but I'm not sure if that area was supposed to be blue or not. Dean, do you know?
I don't know. I would imagine the panels were blue, yes.
Okay, so thinking that those panels are blue, and originally I want to get this back to blue. You can see inside there is still a fair bit of blue, and the grill there I was picking away at while I was helping Dean bleed the brakes. So it gives me something to do inside while he's out there. And then there's this really weird, not sure why, there's a transition from blue to red. Maybe that's a primer or something. Yeah, lots of mysteries. But so there's a bit of work in here to do, and that's stuff that I can just peck away at. And in the back there, all that is going to go back to blue, and then we're going to have to source a headliner. We do have a gentleman in town that does upholstery and has had in the past for Dean's Mad Max car. This looks like it's some sort of a cardboard type composite stuff. I'm not sure.
Ask if anybody knows where to get it in the comments.
Or if, like as Dean just mentioned, if anybody knows where a person can source that kind of stuff, that would be greatly appreciated if you could send us a comment. So yeah, lots of work in here yet, but it'll be fun to see the transformation.
Well, I ended up taking all the pistons out. I wanted to check and see how many bearings on rod bearings were reversed, and 3 out of the 8 were put on backwards. I'm not sure how much difference that makes. I guess it would be your oiling on there. Yeah, anyway, all the journals check out really nice. Quite a few of the bearings had just a little groove in them, like a piece of dirt went through. I'll have to decide if I'm going to use them or not. I'm desperately trying not to have this snowball because I know how things go. The further you dig, the more you find, and on and on and on. So I'm going to pull the crank out. I was thinking of leaving it in because I was concerned with disturbing the rear main seal. I've had nothing but problems trying to stop rear main leaks with modern seals. If this has the old asbestos rope seal, they actually are really good, but of course you can't buy them anymore. Anyway, what else? Oh, so I noticed here one of the cylinders has been sleeved. You can clearly see that ridge there. That's from a cylinder bore sleeve. All the other ones are fine except for this one. So obviously it had some problem early in its life. The rod bearings, some of them were dated 1172. The earlier ones I think were, or maybe the other ones were all 72. Anyway, it had a freshening in its life. I'm going to pull it right apart, give it a good clean, probably give it a quick hone, clean up the components, and she's going back together. Again, I don't want the snowball to get bigger and bigger and you know, keep on going. The other thing I noticed, and it might be hard, I got to turn it here, actually it turns really easy, is if you notice, see on these rod throws in the crank, you see how thick those are, and it's a forged crank, which is a good thing. But if you look at this one, you can see how they must have balanced it, I guess, that way. But look at how they've machined the sides of the journal right down. I got to think that would be a strength concern in a performance build for sure. But if you see, yeah, if you look at here, you notice how narrow the side is here compared to, say, this. You know, so they've machined it right down. I'm not sure if they had a problem with the crank or not. Otherwise, other than balancing, but it just seems weird. I've never seen that before where they've machined it that far down. But all the journals are good. It doesn't even need a polish, so we're just going to pull it all out, clean it all up, pull out this, check out the oil pump, clean it really well, probably give it a quick ball hone just to take off any glaze in the cylinders, and then she's going back together. You know, it's definitely not a rebuild, but you could say a light freshening, I guess. And that's what Mama's whale gets. Okay, I wiped down the cylinders to have a better look. You see there's a bit of a ridge on the top here. You can just catch your fingernails. So the bores are going to have some taper. It's not going to be ideal, but again, I'm trying to keep the snowball at bay. See a little bit of rust here from sitting where the piston was down. So there's a little bit of rust on the bore and right there. So I think a quick light hone. We're not looking to change the size of the cylinder. We're just looking to rough it up and maybe scuff that rust off. Now I'm going to take the cam bolt off, slide the gear and chain off, and yank out the cam. Maybe it's an aftermarket with some identification marks on it so we can tell, you know, what lift and duration, what kind of cam. Otherwise, you know, most likely is what I'm guessing is just going to be a stock type, either reman, regrind, or even the original cam, but we'll find out in a minute. So it's been a while since I've dug into an engine. I'm a little rusty here, but you notice, I don't know if you can see, there's a little timing mark right there in the gear, the circle. I can't seem to find the one in here just to confirm, but I think we'll probably be taking this timing set out anyway, because if you look, see how much the cam gear moves compared to the crank. That's probably not ideal for timing. I'm not sure what the actual tolerance is supposed to be, because I know all timing gears, after you've run them for, you know, 10 miles, there's going to be a bit of stretch in there, but this looks like a bit much because I don't think it should move at all. Anyway, I will look into that and to be confirmed. Okay, so the cam is out, and I thought it looked fine when it was in the block. I'm maybe having second guesses just because of the wear patterns on the tips, on the lobes. I'll have a buddy look at it who's a machinist and an engine builder and see what he says, if I can just put it in with the lifters. But there's no markings on it as to the specs or anything, which is probably what I expected. It's most likely the original cam or just a stock regrind or replacement. Well, the oil pump or oil filter's been on there a while, and it just crushes and splits from the wrench, but we got her. I'll pull the oil pump apart and have a look and see if it's bad or not. There's specs for measurement between the rotor and the outer housing, but they're cheap enough to buy anyway as insurance, so we'll see where this goes. Okay, Shauna, tell us what you're doing.
Well, as you can see, I made a little bit of progress here.
That was black?
That was black. And of course everything is supposed to be a really, really nice blue color, as you can see right here.
Underneath, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm taking the gauge cluster out, and I'll try and get as much blue back as I can. I'm going to have to get a spray bomb.
I think, yeah, you're better off
some
just,
kind.
yeah, you're probably better off just to clean around the gauges and then mask it and spray it blue again.
Yeah.
So she's
that's my task.
Fiddling with all the wires and everything back here. So we've got to be very careful because especially with these vacuum operated heater controls, because those are brittle plastic and they really like to break. And then these things here are where all the dash light bulbs are. So we'll put all new they're just little peanuts. I think they're 94s or 194s. So we'll just clean the copper contracts around them and put new bulbs in there so it's nice and bright. And we'll try not to destroy anything taking this thing out. So while I'm playing with greasy engines, Shauna's in here playing. So just about to remove the crank, and another interesting detail. There's the main bearing. They are full grooved main bearings, so it's got a big groove down the middle. And if you look on the bottom part, you can see there, it's got a groove on that top half. So these are full groove main bearings. Typically, that was a racing engine deal back in the day. They put the grooves in for more oiling. So it's kind of uncommon and interesting that this engine would have that.
Weird.
So the crankshaft is out. It is in excellent condition. Rod and main journals are beautiful. And then I'm going to give you another look at these bearings I was telling you about. See, normally you don't have that full groove in there. And these look to be in excellent condition as well. So lots of surprises in here. Having a hard time getting this oil pickup out. I'm going to try and get it out without destroying it. Other than that, the block is pretty much stripped. Here's another look at that sleeve. It's quite evident when you see it from the bottom. You can see the bottom of the sleeve sticking up from the block. I don't know if you can pick it up or not. You can just see the line. There. That's the line of the sleeve into the block. Obviously they did a very good job. It fits well. It's been in there for, I got to assume, since the early 70s when this was last gone through, but more surprises. Okay, so I've got this pair of heads, Big Block Dodge. They're number 346, which comes up as 71 Big Block, 383 440, they're the same. And I'm just popped a couple of valves out to have a look. Now these heads have been gone through at some point. I mean, they're a little rusted up from sitting. I'm not sure how long they've been sitting, but One of the big tips that they've been gone through is, well, that the guides anywhere, the seals, is they're still soft and pliable. Usually these bake and crumble, especially if they're original ones. So those have been changed. I just wire brushed the valves off here pretty quick on the wheel, and they got a nice smooth face to them, and they got a lot of margin in the valve. So they're probably, well, either in good shape or they've been redone before, but there's a lot of margin in the valve, and then the face is nice and flat and smooth. It's not concave, it's flat. So there's that, and then they had shims underneath the springs, and the springs are a single spring with a dampener, and they had shims done, so they've been gone through. But anyway, I just removed those valves, and then I'm just looking down in the hole here, and you can see that the valve guide's been done. That's, you know, fairly good. So the seats are a little rusted up from sitting, so I'm going to see if I can lap the valves and see if that'll work. Otherwise, I do have a friend that has head grinding stuff that can do that. Anyway, that's option one. These are a 346, so they're an open chamber. A closed chamber would usually stop right along here. You can see this is, you know, goes down a bit from the surface of the head. So that's an open chamber. So these heads, those pistons that are in the engine, the forged pistons, they are 70 thousandths down from the deck. And then the forged pistons, and then those combined with a 40 thou compressed Felpro head gasket, which is, you know, your standard head gasket, and then also with these open chambers, they're roughly, I think, 90 cc's, gives you about 8.37 to 1 compression ratio. Now, most people are going to say, oh, well, that's terrible, you know, for performance. But our goal is to be able to use unleaded or just regular unleaded gas, not premium, to run, you know, the cheapest fuel. So that's option one, and that's with the open chamber. Option two, with a closed chamber, and I would have to dig through the supply here and see if I got any decent ones, because these are actually in pretty good shape. Anyway, the other option with the closed chamber would bring the compression ratio up to, I think it was, instead of 8.37, it was going to be 8.7 something. So it brings it up 3.5 points. So that would probably still work for regular fuel. So anyway, I'll maybe dig up another set of the closed chamber, most likely be 5/16s, and I'll see what kind of shape they're in, and I guess either one's going to work. We're not going for big power. We're going for a mileage, cheap fuel type budget cruiser, because that's all Shauna wants. It's just something she loves to drive. So anyway, that's where we are at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to try lapping the valves. I think the seats and the valves are in good enough condition that I could try lapping them. And what that does is it smooths out the seat and the valve to form a good fit. So that way when it's closed, you know, it seals well, because otherwise you're going to be leaking compression. It's not going to run well. So anyway, I've never done this before, but I've always had this valve lapper, and I got a bit of valve lapping, I guess valve grinding compound, and it's gritty, and you put it on the valve, and then you basically just run this around here. Now I want to show you before and after. This is the exhaust valve. I never touched that one as far as the valve lapping. And then I'll show you this one, the one I just did. And it doesn't take long, especially if the seats and the valves are in good shape, because then you don't really have much to do. But anyway, if you look close, you can see the gray area. That's where I just ground, and that matches the valve face here. So it makes for a good seat. Whereas you can see the beforehand, it's just a little rusted up from sitting. You know, probably would still function okay, but I mean, just by doing a little bit of work like that, you can see the difference it makes, and basically makes the seat so it's going to conform with this valve, and we'll get a good seal. So, you know, if they all check out like this, it should run pretty good if I decide to go with these heads. I'm just experimenting with this because I've never actually done it before, but it's interesting. So I'm just taking a drill with a wire brush on it right here, just to clean up the rust. You can see the surface rust. So now it's cleaning up pretty good. And if you can see, there's a grain in here, little lines and stuff. You can probably see it right here. Eh? It's all curved. Anyway, these heads have been surfaced. They've been machined flat, and obviously they've had a bit of miles on them. You know, they were used, but I think they're in really good condition overall. And unless I find a much better pair of closed chamber heads, we'll probably use these, because I doubt the ones I have are going to be in this good a condition. You know, these have had recent valve job. They got good springs on it. They have new seals. They've got, looks like valve guides, and then of course the surface. So I think if I just clean these up, these will probably be the go-to for us. So we'll end up with just under 8.4 to 1 compression, which is ideal for regular fuel. You know, we're not going to be the powerhouse, but you know, I guess without spending tons of money, you can't have everything. So we're going to call it a day here in the shop. It just stopped snowing. It's been snowing all day. It's about 4:30 p.m. now. I got to go out and plow the snow with the other truck. So I'm all done with playing with the engine and the heads. And what were you up to today, Shauna?
I got the dash pretty much gutted, glove box, door.
She's preparing to repaint the whole dash back to its original color, which is a nice light metallic blue.
Yeah, so I'll show you that on the next episode, the progress I've made, and it's exciting.
Okay, so have a good night. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you episode 12.
Sure, okay. I lose count.